Let's talk about spiritual spouse. There's the spiritual spouse that can be sent to you by a malevolent person to basically become a literal thorn in your flesh, okay, to torment you. And then there is the other kind, which is more of an entity that sees you and, it becomes possessive, it becomes jealous, and it begins to also wreak havoc, and it also turns into a literal thorn in your flesh. And it can, this particular entity does not necessarily get sent by someone, or it just sees you and, decides to, attach itself to you and make your life a living hell, And like I said, it becomes possessive and jealous. And it can cause a lot of destruction in a person's life. So this kind of spiritual spouse is also known as incubus and succubus, right? Now the third kind, the first one and the second one that I mentioned, the incubus and succubus, and the one that's sent by malevolent people to, cause damage in your life and wreak havoc, those two you absolutely need to be separated from. You cannot keep those in your field. You have to find a way to get separated from those types of spirit spouse. And then the third kind of spiritual spouse is the one that's from your element of incarnation, okay? Or reincarnation. Be that the water element, the fire, the air, or the earth element, okay? So that spirit spouse, typically, you don't need to be separated from. You need to find ways to appease this spouse, to work with this spirit spouse so that they can allow you to live a happy, healthful life here on earth. You need to find ways to negotiate with them and remind them of whatever agreement you had with them before you came into this realm. Okay, you must have had some type of agreement. They must have agreed to you coming to this realm to serve a particular purpose. And now that you're here, they're missing you. It's hard for them on the other side, and they're getting jealous. They are destroying your relationships. They are destroying your finances, all to get your attention. This particular spirit spouse, like I said, you do not necessarily need to be separated from. This one, you need to negotiate with them. You need to appease them. You need to find out what kind of spirit spouse they are. Are they from the water? Are they from the air? Are they from the earth? Are they from the fire element? Where are they from? How do you appease them? What do they need? You need to negotiate with them. And once that is done, they will actually start to help you achieve your goals and, and fulfill your purpose and on this earth, whatever that is, right? This kind of spirit spouse, like I said, can be confused for the other two. When someone, like when you go for a reading, for example, and you get told you have a spirit spouse, a lot of people panic. they start to panic because they're not aware of the different kinds of spirit spouse that exist. If it's the elemental spirit spouse, you're fine. Even though that spirit spouse might be causing havoc in your life at the moment, which is not fun, but spirits are strange. They behave strangely. Their ways are strange, right? So that one you can, like I said, you can negotiate with them. You can work with that. But the other two, those can really, really be a thorn in your flesh. And those you cannot keep around. You cannot remain attached to those. You have to separate from those. So when you go for a reading and they tell you you have a spirit spouse, you have to get separated, get some clarification. Because if it's the other kind of spirit spouse that is from your elemental source and they're telling you that you need to get separated from that spirit spouse, then that's not going to work. Because first of all, it's impossible. Let's just put it that way. First of all, it is impossible to separate yourself from your elemental spirit spouse. The other ones, you can. The one that attaches itself to you on its own, the incubus, succubus, you can separate yourself from that spirit spouse. The one that is sent by malevolent people, you can separate yourself from that spirit spouse. But the one that's from your elemental source, you cannot separate yourself from that spirit spouse. All you can do is appease, negotiate, and appease and negotiate. That's all you can do. Okay? So, and also, most people, when they get told that they have a spirit spouse, they automatically think that it is a water spouse. Okay? They automatically think it's a water. Once they hear spiritual spouse, they're hearing water spouse. But just because you have a spiritual spouse doesn't necessarily mean that spiritual spouse is from the water. It could be from the forest, it could be from the mountains, it could be from the air element, it could be from anywhere. So then the person takes you to the river to do appeasements to a spiritual spouse in the river, whereas that your spiritual spouse is not in the river. Your spirit spouse is in the forest, in the mountains. You know what I mean? So, and also, let's say it was possible for you to be separated from your spirit spouse, your elemental spirit spouse. After living a long, healthful life here on earth, by the grace of God Almighty, Osalubanu Dazi Olodumare, he said, after living a long life here, a long, prosperous life, and returning to dust. Now, when you have separated yourself from your spirit spouse, where do you go back to? Who do you, what's going to be waiting for you in your realm of incarnation? What would you be going back to? Or you separate yourself from your spirit friends. Some people, when they get told that they're Ogbanji, again, without finding out what kind of Ogbanji they are, they get told you have to absolutely get separated from them. They're no good, this, that, and the third. Let's say it was possible for you to separate from your spirit spouse, to separate yourself from your Ogbanjis, your spirit friends, to separate yourself from your spirit family, whether they be from the water, from the air, from the earth, whatever. Let's say it were possible to do that. When all is said and done here on this realm, what do you go back to? Who do you go back to? What home do you have to go back to? When you have separated yourself from your entire team, from your spirit spouse, from your spirit friends, your ogbanjes, your spirit family, like, what do you go back to? So this is why we have to be careful. You know,